Whose house is it? Swerve's house. He has finally made his AEW debut, but where is he going to fit in? This age-old question. We're going to ask it and talk about it again today, right here at WrstlXtra.
Yo, this is WrstlXtra. I'm your boy, A-Dazzle, the Black Wrestling Advocate. As always, joined by my tag team partner, Mix, the Wrestlemaniac, if you will. Oh, yes, man. Sir. It's Swerve's house. It's Swerve's time. He's the realist, but now he's the real elite, I guess. Yeah. Swerve made his debut, his debut appearance at Revolution on the weekend. There was talk about Swerve already signed to AEW for about 2 or 3 weeks now, and obviously he's now confirmed that he is there. The first thing I'm going to say is something that I saw tweeted. I also kind of responded with a very similar thing. It was the way he was introduced. The way he was introduced was. So he came out. He was just introduced by Tony Schiavone, standing up at the top of the ramp next to the entranceway and all the rest of it. Swerve walks out, obviously suited as he has done. I think he made his little return to Defy Wrestling in a very similar way. Suit, yeah. In the same suit and all of that, which was nice to see. But it gives me the negative feeling straight away because it reminded me of Jay Lethal and also Lio Rush's debut after he was signed. Obviously, Lio Rush's debut was in the Casino Royale match, but when he was actually signed, his debut appearance or the way he was introduced was very similar. He just kind of came out the walkway and had a bit of a chat with Tony Schiavone, and that was the end of it. Based on those two, I'm not excited. I'm a little scared, should I say? I'm excited for Swerve. The reaction that he got from the crowd was great. Everyone was shouting "Swerve, Swerve, Swerve," which was amazing. But we had a very similar reaction from the crowd to when Lio Rush came out, and also when Jay Lethal came out. Now, truth be told, Alfred Connery kind of got it right. As he usually does. As my opinion is, his takes are always kind of quite on the money. He said the way the crowd reacted means that Swerve should be a star. The way he came out kind of almost suggests he's going to be on Dark within a few months. Because the way Jay Lethal came out was the same. What's Jay Lethal doing now? The way Lio Rush came out was the same. Lio Rush apparently signed a 5-month contract. What does this mean for Swerve? And I can't, and you know what? And as much as I just mentioned only 2 black stars that came out similarly, I can't think of, you may be able to correct me if I'm wrong here, but I can't think of any other non-black stars who've been introduced in the same way.
So, Revolution last year, Christian debuted. And that was when they made the whole big thing of, a Hall of Fame worthy talent is coming to AEW.
Yes.
And then when Christian came out on the entranceway, that's when it was like, we like Christian, but like you've overdone it with this one sort of thing. Right. But of course, Christian, with his name value, was kept on TV, was kept prominent. Put in a title picture, didn't win the AEW World title, but beat the AEW World Champion for the Impact World title. And now, in the last couple of months, he's settled into more of his mentoring role and being the mic or the spokesman, should I say, for Jurassic Express. I feel like I'm going to defend AEW a bit here against the comments made because like straight away, Swerve's currency in today's market is a lot higher than Jay Lethal's. Probably a lot higher than Leo Rush's at that time as well. So yeah, I would like to think that Dark isn't in his future, his immediate future. Or they get the odd match on Dark, like a tuning up match, but like I don't want to see like this extended run that Jay Lethal's had, and I like I say, I don't think that's in his future. Obviously, we now know that they have acquired Ring of Honor. For Swerve to go to Ring of Honor, even if it's a thing where he could be a big name over there, if they don't have a TV deal, it is a backwards move.
Oh, in every way, shape, or form. You might as well go on Dark. It would be the same thing. Yeah.
So I wouldn't be sold on the fact that you can go and be world champion in Ring of Honor. It's a bit.
I hear that. I hear you.
He has to be prominent on AEW. He has got the minerals to be prominent on AEW. Like Alfred said in his tweet, it's the reaction that you give a star, sort of thing. And if you didn't know you'd sign someone of this caliber, the fans told you've now signed someone of this caliber, sort of thing. We want to see kind of big things. My one fear, and again, yes, they've now secured AEW. Tony Khan has secured Ring of Honor. And there's multiple platforms under this AEW umbrella, if you like. My fear is still that Swerve is of a similar ilk in terms of positioning to Keith Lee, to a Wardlow, to Ricky Starks, all these other guys that are knocking on the door of the main event, upper mid carders, whatever you want to call them. How are we making time and space for all of them? Like, Andrade, after maybe about a year now or so, is kind of doing something now, coming to prominence now. The likes of Malachi Black has kind of taken a step in another direction to go into like a tag team or trios kind of thing. Pac as well has kind of lived over there his entire stint. He's never really, apart from a one title match with Kenny Omega, it seems like they've got a lot of talents in this mid card that could be main event guys, and at the same time, they're not. It's funny because it's like, okay, they signed like Danielson and Punk, but because we know these guys are on the tail end of their career and they are good wrestling heads, they aren't trying to become mega stars in AEW, win titles and be main eventers and stuff like that per se. They're not signing a lot of upper echelon guys. They have a lot of guys that can become upper echelon guys, but they're not signing those guys. They're signing a lot of the same guys and talents that are all on the brink of becoming main eventers. So how are we going to make these guys, choose who's going to go up there first and rotate it in and out? Like, I'm not even complaining at this point that we've got all of these guys, because as fans, we're all calling for these guys to get TV time and to come to AEW. I just don't understand and see how it can be managed effectively, and that's what I'm struggling with.
Before we actually try to answer that question, or even answer, very specifically where Swerve fits in, as you were talking, there's something I thought about. And we're here. We're talking about all these guys that have been signed. Your Keith Lee, Andrade, Swerve, Malachi Black, even Buddy Murphy. All these different Buddy Matthews now, and all these different people who are kind of like these, as you said, upper mid card or on the cusp of being main eventers. Do you think the problem isn't necessarily where AEW position them, but maybe where we as fans expect them to be? Are we putting too much of a high expectation on all of these guys? Because with a lot of them, probably almost every single one of them, actually, they were hard done by WWE, or they didn't quite reach their potential, or they weren't used in the way that we thought they should be or could be, all that kind of stuff. Again, even with them in WWE, do you think that we as fans are probably expecting too much? Because the reality of wrestling is that not everyone can be at the top at the same time.
Agreed.
So you're gonna have a whole load of people who are good enough, but just can't fit, just literally can't fit there.
Yeah.
And you know, as you said, you know, who do you put first and whatever else? Is it a thing where we have too high of an expectation?
Yes, because we're wrestling fans and that's what we do. We dream, we create scenarios in our heads. However, like you're saying, especially for a lot of the ones that have come from WWE and are seeking refuge in AEW, we want the best for them because we saw how, you know, dirty they were done in WWE.
Right.
So yeah, like I'm just thinking about even from a, you know, a pay-per-view standpoint. Like we saw a revolution happen. We had two guys that are main eventers, Champion and Adam Cole. Then we had like the likes of Danielson and Moxley lower down the card. These guys are main eventers, so that is almost like your second big match or one of these other kind of marquee matches, if you like. The likes of Swerve, where would he fit into on a pay-per-view? You know, like it's like Malachi Black, like we're saying, is at this kind of level, has been put into a trios thing and was on the buy-in. Andrade got shooed into like a trios match. Swerve could have been shooting as a seventh person in a ladder match, but do you want to just be there to make up numbers, or do you want to kind of start making your impact? Again, AEW have been on a whether the person has taken their opportunity or not, you know, they have generally managed the roster well. We know who is kind of next up. We know who they have plans for, etc., etc. However, I just fear because it's like, it's literally in terms of the talent that they have. Like, if we're talking about differences, there's not a lot of difference between a Ricky Starks and a Swerve.
No,
like it's literally duplicating the same kind of talent, which is amazing that there's this much talent out there. But who goes through the door first? Who gets that opportunity first? And it's like I said, I'm quietly optimistic they'll do it. But in my own head, I need to like peace that that there's opportunity. Like if he makes Rampage 2 hours tomorrow, then now I know the opportunity, you know, there's space. You see what I mean? But like, mentally, I'm really struggling that these guys are just gonna all be sitting around, and you know, we may, God forbid, end up with another kind of WWE release situation.
I kind of already see these, as we fans kind of coin it, WWE problems already. Obviously, you know, the roster is as big as it is and as good as it is. And as you said, there's so many kind of duplicates in terms of level of talent, the type of styles, the type of characters, you know, the levels that people are at. It's difficult. And for me, the only answer to these problems really is going to be at least an extra hour on Rampage, or at least one of the dark shows being a lot more meaningful, and then it will come down to what the plan is for Ring of Honor. Is it going to be completely separate, or is it going to be another show? Is it going to be AEW's Ring of Honor, or is it going to be a completely separate show where, you know, it's completely different talent, different roster, not used, and not, you know, they don't cross over or anything like that? If there is that crossover, I think the answer would be, the ideal answer would be for it to be a crossover type situation where people can go onto that show as well. And as you said, you know, you can kind of see the likes of maybe Pac, maybe a Keith Lee, who we think or know should be, you know, next in line or you know, in the conversation of being AEW World Champion, but they've kind of already planned that for the next 5 years. They're not going to throw either one of those guys in there just because they've just signed, you know, a year or two ago or whatever it is. So maybe if then we've got the Ring of Honor Championship, maybe we get that. But then it brings along, and this is the other thing we're going to talk about, then it brings along the problem of what do we do with the current Ring of Honor champion, Jonathan Gresham, / Bandido. And then what happens with former Ring of Honor talent? Do they get first dibs? Are they going to be the ones that they call up first, or a selection of them at least, or something like that? Are we even going to see Shane Taylor Promotions? Bro, if they don't,
like,
I'm rioting. Listen, I'm gonna book my ticket to the US, bro, and I'm kicking down Tony Khan's door, bro, because if they do not have some level of opportunity, and there are a few others as well who are in Ring of Honor, who should be first on that list to be signed. But for me, Shane Taylor Promotions don't get signed. It will almost confirm the fact. It will always confirm the fact that one, Tony Khan does not have the balls to sign Shane Taylor Promotions, and two, they don't really care for black talent. I swear, it's gonna confirm it for me. I don't care what anyone says. It's gonna be straight confirmation for me, bro, because I'm now a little bit fearful. As great as Jonathan Gresham is, as much as we've, a lot of people, not just us as black fans, but a lot of people been asking for, Gresham versus Daniel Bryan and, Gresham in AEW, blah, blah, blah. I'm now actually quite afraid as to what's going to happen to Jonathan Gresham as soon as they start mixing.
Okay, so I listened to his media scrum, and I'm the kind of person that I definitely, even in my everyday life, I say to people, say what you mean. Don't just say words. Say exactly what you mean. And I'm going to hang my hat on every word. And, he's basically insinuated in terms of just releasing people in AEW that it's based on merit. I'm not renewing your contract if you're not, up to scratch, or you're not doing it or stuff like that. Cool. He's also kind of alluded to that Ring of Honor will be like for younger talents, I guess, making their way, almost like an NXT, making their way to AEW. Then how NXT 2.0 are kind of doing now, they're sending some established names down to NXT to kind of, bolster the ranks and stuff like that. Is probably what AEW will plan to do. However, I do still think within Tony Khan, the kind of person he is, he will probably sign or re-sign all of those Ring of Honor people that want to come back and be under contract. I think he would at least sign them to like a 6-month to 1 year deal. Give them a chance to prove themselves, see if they can kick on and stuff like that. But he will more or less use it as a development, like a stomping ground. Now, the likes of, we're talking about Swerve going to Ring of Honor and becoming Ring of Honor champion, which is almost like a backwards move. The likes of like a Moriarty, that is more of the kind of people, the Daniel Garcias. Those are guys that should be coming and becoming Ring of Honor champion. I see that crossover with Danielson and Gresham. I think it's gonna happen. That will probably be one of the lead programs, so that Danielson can help Ring of Honor. Of course, Danielson's going into the Ring of Honor Hall of Fame this year. Gresham, he's clocked Ring of Honor. And he's keeping that company's name alive right now. So I think they will get that program, and maybe that will see Gresham move over to AEW, and maybe even Danielson beats him for the title, has a stint in Ring of Honor like Christian did in Impact to help kind of put that company back together, and then he drops it to somebody else. For me, though, Ring of Honor needs to have a TV deal. Just generally speaking, because that's the only thing that's going to make it real different from what we've seen Ring of Honor over the last 10 years or so to be. Like, they need to have a constant TV deal where everyone knows where they can find them, and it's something different from what we have got. Shane Taylor and stuff like you mentioned, I think they will get their chance. As long as they want their chance, I think they will get their chance. But Tony Khan has come out and said he wants to book Ring of Honor. I don't know if that means he's still going to book AEW, or he's going to hand AEW over to someone, or he's most likely going to book the two. We shall see.
It's not impossible. I mean, we obviously see Vince doing both Raw and SmackDown. It's kind of more or less like two different shows. And yes, there are flaws in that being the case. But it's not impossible. I guess a part of me, I think you mentioned this in a tweet in the week as well, that it's not like there aren't other people who are qualified or good enough to be the head booker on Ring of Honor, and allow Tony Khan to focus on on AEW. I'm hoping it's kind of, you know, a bit of a situation where whether he does it, you know, wholeheartedly, or he probably stands on the sidelines while someone else does it and he's just watching over, I guess. Then, you know, that would be fine. But I don't know. I think even before we knew that Tony Khan purchased, but when we saw the likes of Cody Rhodes disappear from AEW, when we saw William Regal was free from WWE, and even Samoa Joe, who's also as well being put into this ROH Hall of Fame as well.
Yeah.
For me, the dream scenario is those three working in Ring of Honor, and I've fought that from day one. So to now see Tony Khan kind of in the mix, it helps the fact that it can happen. It kind of gives it a bit more substance, but at the same time, knowing that he's kind of saying he wants to be head booker, and then we've seen William Regal turn up in on Revolution as well with the whole Daniel Bryan, John Moxley situation. I'm like, all right, is that what he's going to be doing, or was that just an introduction to say that he's here and then we're going to get Regal over at, you know, Ring of Honor? It's all very interesting. But to bring it all the way back to Swerve, my thing is, if he doesn't start out with a good feud, you know, like a strong feud with someone, I don't know who that would be, but someone established, probably like a Darby Allin maybe. He's already got his history with Darby Allin from Defy and a few other promotions as well. If it's not some level of strong feud to then take him towards the TNT Championship, or at least be within that sphere, you know, quite obviously, then it will just be like everyone else. Just a nice little introduction. Tony Schiavone says your name, the crowd chants, and then 3 months later you're doing nothing.
Yeah.
Let's go keep with AEW and let's go to Revolution itself, the pay-per-view itself. Rave reviews, great matches, some great things happened. But let's talk about the face of the Revolution match specifically. Now, we saw Keith Lee in the match, we saw Ricky Starks in the match, we saw Wardlow win. Not a bad idea at all. But then where does it, you know, we kind of talked about this before, where does it now leave Keith Lee in terms of the possibilities of what now happens with him? Your face says it all. For those on radio, unfortunately, you won't see his face, but next face says it all.
Listen, I'll say this. We sat here last week and we said, realistically, there's only two winners of this match. It's going to be Keith Lee or it's going to be Wardlow. So I am not at all upset with Wardlow winning. They set it up nicely the week before on Dynamite. I think when MJF said that, you know, you can keep the belt if you win, but you're not going to win. He goes on to win the ladder match. He then done what he did in the MJF and CM Punk match. I would go as far as saying Wardlow was the right choice. To win. My issue is Keith Lee, in getting to Revolution, has started flirting with Team Taz. Team Taz, who have grown. They've become a lot better than they were in the pandemic period. The addition of Hook and presentation of Hook and Ricky Starks, you know, still doing Ricky Starks as best as he can to sell himself. Team Taz have looked a lot better than they did a year ago. For sure. Keith Lee and Team Taz doesn't exactly excite me. Furthermore, if that's where he's gonna go, I think they had a good opportunity within the ladder match to tease more between himself and Hobbs. A lot of the teases were, there was one or two, there was more Wardlow and Keith Lee. But yeah, they could have really sold us on that feud if they'd done more between Will Hobbs and Keith Lee in the ladder match. I'm not excited about Keith Lee versus Team Taz at all. But if you want to use Team Taz to get Keith Lee a good feud win, you know, a meaningful win, then fair enough. Wardlow, like I said, he really should go on to win the TNT title from here, and I'm backing that. Like I said, I'm happy with the decision, but this is what we're almost talking about with Swerve. Like Keith Lee, okay, he might triumph over Team Taz. What's next? Where does he go from here? I'm counting his wins. I believe he's got 2 wins now on AEW. You know, it might take about somewhere between 7 to 9 wins for him to get a title shot as per the rankings. So we'll sit patiently and see.
I mean, I wouldn't want it to be an overnight type of straight away, opportunity for Keith Lee to get towards the AEW championship. TNT, I think maybe should be, around the corner.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to see how that happens, of course, given the whole rankings and wins and numbers and stuff like that. With Team Taz, it's Team Taz. It's not going to mean anything because Team Taz, unfortunately, don't mean anything. No one has kind of come away from a Team Taz feud to then go on to better things, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's not heightened anyone's career or anyone's opportunities or anything like that. Again, it could just be a stepping stone just to get more wins. If he beats, Hobbs and then Ricky Starks, I doubt they'll allow him to beat Hook for now.
He ain't beating Hook.
Hook's gone on this little bit of a run, so that's not going to happen. He just adds numbers to his record, of course, and that's going to be the only reason for it. But the joke is I can't even think of an actual meaningful feud easily to have. Possibly Miro when he comes back, but apart from that, I really can't think of a meaningful feud that makes me think, right, they're putting the rocket on this guy and he's gonna go to bigger and better things. I don't know who that possibly is.
Like Miro is a name which there will be fantastic matches, but I can't imagine you bring back Miro to lose to Keith Lee.
Exactly.
I don't think you would want to do that to Miro's stock. Lance Archer is another big man that could be thrown in. However, I would say Lance Archer's stock is already quite low, so it wouldn't excite fans, sort of thing. And yeah, I'm at a loss. I don't know what other names you could really stick with Keith Lee to do. Like I said some weeks back, what I would prefer if he wasn't gonna go this route straight to the TNT title or World Championship, and the other part of this idea is not here. I can accept that, but Dominic Dijakovic becomes a free agent. He comes into AEW and instead of these guys killing each other as they always do, they form a tag team of 2 complete big men doing athletic moves, and they run roughshod on the tag division.
Right.
And I thought something like that would buy enough time to then develop the likes of Keith Lee and get him. I say develop, but get him more towards the title picture and stuff like that. But I just don't see nothing exciting anyway in his future. We'll have to wait and see.
I think it again highlights this whole thing, or the issue I guess AEW has is that their top level guys are just their top level guys, and they're all messing with each other. So you've got Hangman and Adam Cole, you've got Bryan and Moxley. I guess the only one you can argue kind of being one to develop another is CM Punk and MJF.
Yeah.
But then after that, it's just this whole mid talent pool where wins over each other ain't meaning anything for anyone. It's just a win again, and it's not going anywhere for anyone. So Ricky Starks might beat Jay Lethal, does nothing. Orange Cassidy might beat Pac, does nothing. You know what I mean? And that's the issue that we have. We're not seeing a Ricky Starks having a feud with CM Punk, even though they had the chance to make that happen. I won't go there. We're not seeing again a Ricky Starks going for Adam Cole. Adam Cole up there, so that's not going to happen either. We're not seeing none of that. We're just seeing, and if they do, and if the higher level does mix with the lower level, it's just to build them. So you had Hangman beat Lance Archer. No one cared about Lance Archer trying to win the AEW World Championship, but it was just to raise or to give, or almost not even to raise his stock, but give Page something to do.
Yeah, the defense. Yeah.
And yeah, that's where AEW are at the moment. And I'm now not excited for Keith Lee, Swerve, your Ricky Starks, and name any other black wrestler on that roster.
It's what we're mentioning at the beginning of this conversation. Like, there is, and I'm very grateful. I'm not complaining. There is so much special talent all on the cusp. Literally, they're all of these names. They're all on the cusp of the main event and being bona fide main eventers. Like, if depending on the story they're gonna tell, if like MJF won at Revolution, he would literally be stepping on Punk to walk into the main event scene.
Exactly.
You see what I mean? But he didn't win. So it's almost like Punk has stepped on MJF and he's going to be probably Page's next challenger. So it's who is Keith Lee going to step on to make the step up? Who is Swerve going to step on to make the step up? Not these sideways steps and sideways moves and stuff like that. That's where it is right now. Like, okay, we'll tell a good story, have a great match, but who has kind of been elevated here? No one as such. We've just told a great story and had a great match,
which isn't a bad thing. But there's only so many times that can happen.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. If Keith Lee does it with someone, does the whole thing with Team Taz, it's a sidestep. If then there's someone else, it's another sidestep. There's going to be way too many sidesteps until there is a possible stepping up. Yeah, and that's the issue that we're having. It's crazy. Speaking of the Revolution, the pay-per-view, Jade Cargill, of course, is now 29-0?
Something like that.
29-0. Gave Tainara Conti the kiss of death before killing her.
Cheeky sod.
That was so funny. And it's quite obvious. We've said it probably 3, maybe 4 weeks now in a row that she is quite possibly the biggest star in AEW, especially for the women, of course. Yeah. It's interesting how AEW tried their hardest to make Britt Baker a little bit more relevant again by giving her a new shiny title. It's bigger than the TBS.
That's what they're trying to do.
It's a little bit more prestigious in its look, for sure. But it's not going to be the answer to, making Britt Baker any more bigger a star than Jade Cargill right now. We ask this question all the time. I don't know if it's changed at all, the answer, but what is next for Jade? Like, are we going to get bored at some point, though, with her just beating everyone? And again, side steps are happening. Really,
I think more than anything, what we're seeing here is what I always dreamt of: Jade winning this title to then this be the outcome. Just give her these matches. In the grand scheme of it, these are just numbers: 27, 28, 29th win. These are just numbers, but she needs these reps. She needs these reps to, these numbers that we're seeing are literally the amount of wrestling matches she's had. So it's important she gets this. And I think now at this point where she's defended it at a pay-per-view, she's been champion for 3 months now. Yeah. The next pay-per-view, Double or Nothing, is maybe where we give her the stern test, maybe the mountain she can't overcome in someone like a Chris Statlander.
Yep.
Chris Statlander, I believe she beat Layla Hirsch on the pay-per-view as well, maybe on the buy-in. Yeah. So maybe Statlander needs to start racking up her wins, keep giving Jade these jabronis, these smaller guys to just overcome. And then eventually, just before the payper-view, the next pay-per-view, we have someone, the physical stature and height of Jade Cargill, face her and be like, right, let's do a thing with this title. And then we get Chris Statlander, beats Jade, I would say. Jade can then maybe go off into doing some extra work with Statlander, trying to win it back, or some other character work elsewhere on the card. You kind of develop other areas of her game. But yeah, I think Jade is Jade is shining here. She's looking like the real world champion. I think even if they take the belt off Britt Baker and hand it over to Thunder Rosa, character-wise in the women's division, it's Jade Cargill we're all still invested in. So I think they really put themselves in a pickle putting this belt on Jade. Like, no one expected this, and you know, Britt Baker's kind of championship run to fall off a cliff. Like, it's really kind of showing that the TBS title is kind of the more important title right now in the women's division.
That's so crazy because they said, they always say that none of their titles are higher than the other, and the TNT is just as important as the AEW, and now the TBS is just as important as the AEW women's. We as fans, we kind of just naturally see it very differently. If you're AEW world champion, you're at the top. If you're TNT, you're basically like the Intercontinental champion.
Mid-card, yeah.
You're a mid-card guy. A very similar thing has happened with the AEW women's and the TBS, but at the same time, because of Jade's stock, we're seeing this shift of not importance of the championship. It's not a difference in the importance of championship at all in the slightest. It literally is the star power of the person holding the title. It doesn't make me think that the TBS is now more important. It doesn't make me think that at all. It just shows me that Jade is just more popular than Britt, and Britt just needs a miracle for that to change. It's as simple as that. With
that though, what I would say is the men's TNT title, when the likes of Cody had it, Brody Lee to an extent, Miro definitely. The title, we knew it wasn't the world title, but this also felt like a big title. It didn't feel like a mid-card title. With the Jade and the TBS title, and yes, she's the inaugural champion, so we don't really have the likes of that legacy or anything to lineage to look back on. This title and the person holding it, for me, feels like it has totally eclipsed the AEW women's champion and that small teardrop title she was carrying, just a week ago. Like, they've changed the design of the belt, which helps. It looks more prestigious, like you said. It's a bit bigger and stuff as well. But because they spent so much time developing Jade, and making the TBS title mean something, it's almost like, one, they forgot about Britt Baker as AEW Women's Champion.
Definitely for a time.
And they ran out of, competitors she could actually fight and will believe and put on good matches and stuff like that. The good thing with Britt Baker is she's Tony Khan's golden girl. She's going to drop this title to Thunder Rosa, and she's still going to be on TV every week. And the women's division will benefit from having, another story go on, as well as the two championships picture stories. But yeah, like you said, the fact remains Jade Cargill is probably not just Britt Baker. She's probably the most popular person on that roster today, because the people that like to bring up demos and numbers and all of this stuff, they should be hollering and shouting from the mountain right now, because she's the top drawing person. And all of a sudden, I don't see these demos and numbers get mentioned.
Right.
I don't see them get mentioned. But when other stuff was happening, when we were seeing who's better, AEW, WWE, we were shouting that AEW demo numbers, this, that, and the other, first quarter, second quarter was high. Let's make the same noise that Jade Cargill's eclipsing the women's division, the women's champion, the men's champion. Have to make the same noise. Be equal.
Exactly. Yeah. It's crazy, man. We all know the reason why she's not. Why they're not saying anything. Strong black woman. But, they're not going to admit that either. So I'll say it instead. But it's crazy. Like, as you said, I mean, Black Nito says Jade is the real demo god right now. That's the truth. The numbers show that is the truth, and has consistently shown that for at least a month, maybe 2 months now. I remember when we first had a conversation about Jade and this TBS championship, though. And in the first two or 3 weeks, there was no real there was no real push. You know, she didn't appear on TBS the next week, or you know, it took her like 3 weeks before she actually defended it, but then defended it on TNT and not TBS. But this is for me why I say that, you know, it's not so much the championship itself, it's more so what Jade is doing and what Jade is. Her whole thing of, you know, the whole thing of her being green and new to this is what's getting people to watch, almost in the sense where they're waiting for her to make a mistake. They're waiting for her to make a mistake, and she hasn't really made any yet. Yes, we can still see that she's still new to this.
Yeah,
let's not pretend. But at the same time, I think NK mentioned it in the comments a few minutes ago, where, you know, he's saying that she's getting better and better. So when I said about her, you know, making side steps, you know, it's not so much side steps, it is stepping up, but in herself, not necessarily in the ranks of AEW. And that's what they weren't ready for. It wasn't their choice to say, right, we're gonna make Jade bigger than Britt. No. Jade's come along and said, listen, I'm going to be bigger than Britt.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying. For me, it's the star power, not the title that's you know, changed.
I agree. There's 3 subtle changes that I kind of account this all down to, why all of a sudden it seems like Jade is on a rocket sort of thing. Obviously, she became champion. And from then, she started growing just a bit more confident, a bit more cheeky within her character, knowing her character a bit better. The green like money thing, they went all in on. They went all in on it. She's dressing in green. She changed her gray, silver, storm hair to green, and that's worked a charm. There's one match she had, I think it was on Rampage, maybe about a month ago now, with Anna Jay, which was a very, very good match. And then they gave Jade the mic in front of a live crowd. I couldn't understand for how long, as much as they've been pushing Jade on us, it was always talking in the back, a recorded segment, or Mark Sterling talking for her. People were telling me for days, don't put her in front of the crowd if she doesn't need to be in front of the crowd, protect her, which I get to an extent, but I thought, but she's a heel. They're meant to boo her anyway.
And the champion.
Yeah, like this is even before she was champion. She's just generally a heel. They're supposed to boo her. Whether she gets it wrong or right, the promo, she has to be booed. That's her job. So what do you have to lose? They put her in front of a live crowd after a match, and she came out with, you know, probably the most Brock Lesnar, Goldberg line we've heard in years in terms of, you know, who's next, but who's left sort of thing. People ran with it. Like you said, the demo was doing its thing. It's been doing its thing in the background anyway. Since then, they gave her the mic again. You know, she said what she said to Tay Conti 2 weeks in a row. The whole internet has lapped it up. She even come into Revolution, Mortal Kombat gear, doing karate poses. You've unleashed the animal. Finally, you're letting this person go. You've taken off the leash. And I do agree, you know, there is, to an extent, with obviously younger talents as well, you got to kind of tell what they do, manage expectations and stuff. But, you know, I ain't saying I'm some visionary, but I saw from time ago, just from, you know, watching her own just personal videos on Twitter that she'll put out, Instagram, she's ready for this. She's been ready for this, and we're holding her back. What for? She's here now anyway, so I ain't complaining. But yeah, she's got it, man. She's definitely got that star power you're talking of.
For sure. And it's amazing to see, you know, even, you know, as we released the Jet Power 10 list last week, you know, to see both Jade and Bianca Belair in WWE just outright top stars in their division on the show. Because even now, actually, you know, I don't know if anyone's noticed. Probably a lot of people have. I haven't done my reviews for like about 3 weeks because it almost feels like there's nothing to say, or I'm not, or I don't feel so bad. It's mainly because of a lack of time, but I don't feel bad for not doing it because I'm like, well, I'm not really missing anything if I don't post it.
Nothing new is happening.
Nothing new, yeah. There's nothing new happening. You know, since Bobby Lashley's injury, it's almost like Yeah, you know, there's no one else but Bianca Belair. And she's the one that's holding the flag, I guess, for us as black fans. She's the one holding the flag for us and doing it in a very, very good way. Throw up that NK's comment just again for me. NK says the Anna Jay match was very good, the one with Jade Cargill. Don't get it twisted, AEW are invested in Jade. They partner her with Danielson backstage. That's a statement of intent for sure. Jade is AEW's project. I believe that. I don't doubt that for a second, but I don't think they expected the rise to be as fast as it is, or the eclipsing of Britt Baker to happen like that.
That's what they didn't expect. Because I can't even say as fans we expected that.
No,
but yeah, they wouldn't have expected her to become bigger than the world champion. No chance.
They never expected it at all. And I don't think they're necessarily going to do anything to slow her down necessarily. But they kind of are maybe trying to, you know, writing notes. I can kind of vision like creative writing notes on the side, thinking, "Oh, sugar, we didn't expect this. All right, let's do this next week." You know what I mean? And in that sense,
it happens, bro. Look, Britt Baker eclipsed Shida when Shida was champion.
Very true.
To the point where Shida was putting on fantastic matches, but in terms of character, we were very invested in what Britt was doing and gagging for Britt to become women's world champion.
Right.
And now Britt has been eclipsed by someone that's not even in her same lane division wise and all that kind of stuff. This is the TBS title, which is supposed to be this kind of side title away from the world championship. Yet she's putting on good matches that people are invested in. You know, that kind of character that Britt had on her rise, she's taken on board. And like we said, the demo, the numbers and everything is backing it.
It's so crazy. She literally is green light money and it's not stopping. And you can try your hardest, but you can't deny it. It can't be denied. You can talk about whatever she is or what she isn't. But the numbers don't lie. They've been very consistent. It wasn't a one-off week or anything like that. Been heavily consistent. And as we keep saying, she's just getting better and better and better. And that's the whole point of her being where she is and her being pushed in the way that she is. Yeah, she's not a seasoned veteran. She's not had this, you know, great indie history and all the rest of it. That's fine. Every now and again, we've got to put the rocket on someone that is just shows the potential is that high that you just have to put it out there straight away, not form it in the back or in the background or, you know, in secret. We've got to see this type of thing, and that's part of the beauty of loving pro wrestling, is seeing the development of someone. And for it to be on such a high level or so in your face, it's great. It's very similar, very, very similar to what we were seeing last year with Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
The real difference, obviously, Bianca Belair had a bit of a history with NXT and was in WWE for about a year before and all that kind of stuff. And we were begging for it to happen. Whereas with Jade, no one really asked for it.
Yeah.
No one really asked for it. I mean, I was, but not to the point where I'm like, you know, it's a travesty if they don't. It wasn't nothing like that. It was just.
I want to compare Jade to like a piece of good oxtail that you're cooking on Sunday. and you're almost prepared for it to have that slow boil and, you know, just take time sort of thing. You go to the pot every now and again, open the pot. Oh, how's Jade doing? Okay. No one this is on, you know, heat 10. Like no one expected this to be like this, including AEW. So you just have to move with the times, adapt how, you know, make things happen sort of thing. As long as Jade can manage with this sudden ascent and being pushed into these positions, which it looks like she's doing a decent job with managing, then yeah, let's go.
Yeah, man. And you know, I'm sure whenever we make any fuss about certain stars not being used properly and black stars not being given the same opportunities and all that kind of thing, we'll get the but look at Jade. Yeah, all right. Yeah, as one person. What about everyone else?
Yeah.
Where's that type of confidence in others, especially when some of these others are, seasoned veterans as well. It's interesting to see that we're seeing one thing with Jade, who is green, and then others who are established, kind of still waiting for their chance. But as we said very, earlier on in the show, there are a load of people like that, black, white, Hispanic, the rest of it, very much on the very, very same level of not being pushed in the way that we want them or expect them to be.
Like you said, it just takes the one. Jade is now the poster child as for black women. We could argue Wardlow has finally kind of jumped over that hump for big men in AEW. We just need the black man to kind of show his prominence. We just need the Latinos, either the tag team in like Pride of Powerful or the likes of Andrade to rise to the occasion. Now we have proof you're doing these kind of things in terms of diversity of your roster that you said you were gonna do.
It's taken a while, but I guess it's kind of happening. Kind of.
We're getting there.
Speaking of diversity, something I'm gonna throw in actually that we didn't really expect to talk about, but I want to throw this in very quickly. Another black female who's doing great things is Tasha Steelz, the new Impact Knockouts champion.
About time.
It is about time. I don't think it took too long. I don't think it took too long.
It didn't take too long, no.
It was done. It was done well. But it's nice to see she's now, a Knockouts Grand Slam. There aren't many of those. There aren't many of those who have won both the Knockouts Tag Team and the Knockouts Women Knockouts Championship as well. But one thing someone mentioned to me a few hours ago, and this shocked me. I'm like, how the hell did we get here? Someone said to me someone mentioned that Tasha Steelz is a cheap version of Sasha Banks.
Oh, stop that, man! They've been saying that about Tasha Steelz and what's her face? What's her tag team partner name again? Kiera Hogan. They've been saying that about them two for like 2-3 years now. They need to just stop it. Like, allow it, man.
I don't know where that came from. I don't know why I'm even talking about it because it's a lot of rubbish. But shout out to Tasha Steelz every time. I mean, we've mentioned her so many times. We're fans of hers from very early on in her Impact career as well, even before that as well. But to see her where she's at is great to see. It's nice to see this whole dynamic with her and Savannah Evans. Of course, Savannah Evans got in the mix, and that's how she ended up winning the championship. Great heel stuff going on. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes from this now. I know Chelsea Green was kind of messing with that scene, but I think she got hurt again.
Injured, I know.
Again. Not sure how long she's going to be out for, but Impact ladies kind of have to show up now. There's a few who could definitely, and if it's not Mickie James, kind of still coming back for Tasha Steelz, there are a couple that could come for her as well. So that's great. To finally talk about another championship win, but this championship win kind of came out of absolutely nothing and absolutely out of nowhere. So Ricochet is the new Intercontinental champion.
Let me explain this one. Yeah.
I don't get it.
You're totally right. This came out of nowhere. However, after SmackDown, not the SmackDown just gone where he won it, the SmackDown before that, all of a sudden, reports came out that Ricochet is the number 2 babyface on SmackDown after Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, number 1 babyface, then Ricochet. And you're thinking, okay, neither men are being there's a heavy focus on them to be anywhere near top baby faces. Like no one's really even looking to them for anything right now. And of course then he challenged Sami Zayn to the Intercontinental title. However, I think it's the right move for 2 reasons, I would say. The second one may be fantasy, but the first one, it's better than the Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental title, and Johnny Knoxville wins the IC title. It's better. No one can tell me different. I'm not trying to see Johnny Knoxville with the IC championship.
Not to see Johnny win it, no.
Yeah, I know this title means very little today, which is a complete and utter shame. But there's no way on God's green earth that Johnny Knoxville should hold the Intercontinental title. My second thing, and we've seen obviously in the last couple of weeks, Finn Balor's become US champion.
Yeah.
Now, WWE have conflicting reports of how they're handling this title unification. We all assume Roman's going to win at WrestleMania. I would love a situation where that makes like Finn Balor the de facto top champion on Raw with the US Championship, and Ricochet the de facto top champion on SmackDown with the IC Championship, and then Roman's just going wherever fighting anyone else. I would love that kind of situation that makes the Intercontinental title and the US title feel important. I don't know if that's how they're going to do it. They don't seem like that's the plan, sort of thing. But yeah, yay for Ricochet. I'll keep it PG on this show as I always do. But I've noticed ever since he started dating Samantha Irwin, the ring announcer, there's been a turn in fortune. She went from NXT to SmackDown. Ricochet started getting wins on SmackDown. Now Ricochet is IC champion. I'm just saying.
Wow, that's an interesting take. One that can't really be denied because it's like that's actually what's happened. Can't think why, but that's crazy.
It's weird, bruv. I know, but it's
mad.
Bruv, it happened.
In terms of like the way that these titles have changed hands before WrestleMania and kind of out of nowhere and whatever else, in my mind, I'm not seeing the titles being on separate shows. I'm kind of almost seeing some level of unification as well.
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm seeing some level of unification as well with those two championships. And then it may happen with the two tag team championships as well. I think that's the direction WWE are going back to, one championship per division, or, one world champion, one mid card, one tag team, one women's. Gosh, imagine that.
That'll be good.
Oh gosh, that could possibly be Bianca Belair versus Ronda Rousey. No, Bianca Belair versus Charlotte Flair. That's better. That's better. That makes more sense. That makes more sense to me. So yeah, I kind of see it going that way with all of this stuff happening. We're gonna, obviously these titles have changed hands for reasons for WrestleMania. I've seen with Finn, it's to do this whole heel turn with Damian Priest, and then I don't know what's gonna happen in terms of their match at WrestleMania, who's gonna win. But then with Ricochet,
Another match.
I have no idea how he's gonna fit. Yeah, it's probably gonna be something like that.
Give me I love a WrestleMania six-man ladder match.
Yeah, let's go
for that.
Yeah,
I love it. Open the show. Even make Ricochet defend the title and win it. Like I love a six-man ladder match.
Let's do that. That would work for me. And obviously we've already got Sami Zayn with Johnny Knoxville kind of on the side, so no championship involved in that at all. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Ricochet. Going by what's happened with this Intercontinental Championship the last year, we've had, Shinsuke holding it for no reason.
Holding it captive.
Basically. And then, well, the belt was literally holding up his trousers. That's what it was there for. And then Sami Zayn held it for what? 3 weeks? 3 weeks?
2 weeks, maybe
2 weeks, yeah, something like that. And I dropped it to Ricochet. So it's quite obviously the championship isn't important necessarily, but who knows? It might be a way of raising Ricochet stock in a very weird way. Hopefully, we'll see something like that. The other question I was going to ask, we're not going to answer it, but what's happened to Apollo Crews? Anyway, anyway, time's up, folks. We've got a minute left. We've got a minute left. So yeah, man, folks, thank you for joining us. As always, this has been WrstlXtra. I'm your guy, A Dazzle, the Black Wrestling Advocate. You can find me on Instagram, Black Wrestling Alliance, or on Twitter, Black Wrestling A, where I just make noise. And you can catch this guy, of course, Mex, the Wrestlemaniac, on WrestleManiac.uk on Instagram, WrestleManiac UK on Twitter, where he makes more noise than me. but it makes more sense than me.
I'll try.
Also, make sure you click and subscribe to the Wrestlemaniac UK YouTube channel. Constant reactions and reviews, and of course this show on there as well. So, folks, we're actually finishing before time. No, bang on 1 hour now. Yes, boom. First time in God knows how long. But yeah, we'll see you again next week, guys. See you later.